much for being here once again tonight. And shout out to our virtual attendants as well. This session is produced by Dropkick, and we are live from the beautiful 11th floor of One Arizona Center in downtown Phoenix. So check out this beautiful skyline. Shout out to the D-backs. Y'all see that score, right? 11-4, y'all. Go D-backs. I had to shout them out. My name is Lisa Matthews, and I will be your host for the evening. It's a jam-packed evening, as always, here. Now, who stopped through Vendor Village already? Did a little shopping, mingled, networking? Yes, we'll have plenty of time to do that later on in the evening as well. We have incredible local businesses and organizations that come out here every week. Special thanks to our Vendor Village sponsors, the Painting Company, Allure Events, and Events Rent. So show them some love for coming out here tonight and every week here in August. We'd also like to thank 1AZ Credit Union, the official local financial partner of the State 48 Foundation. We are so grateful for your support as always. And I am so excited to be here with you for session 2. Now who was here last week to kick off this session? I see some hands raised. Awesome. Well, we love that you're here with us tonight. And if this is your first session, welcome and thank you, of course, for being here with us. Tonight's session is called Navigating Essentials, Finance and Legal Insights. And we have some incredible speakers here tonight ready to talk about setting up your business for success and navigating the important topics of both legal and finances. Now, before we get started today, I'd like to bring up my girl, Marina Sandoval, Executive Director of the State 48 Foundation, to tell you a little bit more about the foundation. Marina?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to session 2. How are you guys feeling tonight? Good. Okay, so if this is your first entrepreneur speaker series, raise your hand. So that includes people that joined us last week. Awesome. If this is your second entrepreneur speaker series, raise your hand. Love it. How about your third? All right, a few over there. How about your fourth? Just Mike. Oh, and then Tim in the back. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. You guys could be in a million places all over the world with your family, with your loved ones, but you guys showed up here tonight for yourselves, for your dream, and for your legacy. So give yourselves a round of applause. So a little bit of history on the State 48 Foundation. So the foundation was created by the co-founders of State 48, Mike Spangenberg and Nick Palando. Can you guys please stand and be recognized? And then Nick. So they wanted to create a foundation really to give back to a community that has given them so much, especially entrepreneurs. They know what the struggles are like, and to have a community that's by their sides, is really something that they wanted to give back. And so we have done incredible work over the past few years that we've been established as a foundation. So our mission is to fuel Arizona dreams and drive local prosperity through entrepreneurship. And so since 2020, we've given nearly $100,000 in grant funding, and we're giving an additional $50,000 this year. What do you guys think about that? So in addition to the Entrepreneur Speaker Series throughout the year, we also have our Beyond Business programming. So this is a little bit more intimate event than our Entrepreneur Speaker Series, but it's another opportunity for you to grow, connect, and grow and learn together. And so we do have an upcoming Beyond Business on September 25th. So save the date for that. More information to come. If you do not follow us on our social media platforms, please be sure to do that so that you can get all of the information there. And so now I have the honor of bringing up one of our grant winners, Jace Candria with Wash the City. Let's give Jace some love.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jace Candrea, and I am the founder of Wash the City. For those of you who don't know, this journey started on January 3rd, 2021. I was driving in my car thinking about why people are buying vintage clothing. Why is old stuff so popular? And the conclusion I came to is that people buy old things because they tell stories. A shirt that tells a story is worn most. You want to wear this to dinner. You want to wear it to your friend's house. You want to wear it to wherever you can. And so in that moment, the name Washed had came to me. Washed reflected the way a shirt should feel and look after it's been washed. It's a biblical reference to baptism and an acronym for washed apparel serving humanity every day. It's like, dang, this is a pretty decent idea. So I went home, I bought the domain, I made the Instagram, and I posted the first picture. I said, whoever follows me, I will take that number of followers, buy t-shirts, and go into that city and hand them out. I walked into downtown Phoenix with 25 t-shirts on a plastic clothing rack and no idea what I was doing. I met John and Dreb, and I told them the vision, similar to how I just told you, and Dreb said, you don't understand what it's like to wake up in the morning and not be able to take a shower. All we have is a clean t-shirt. That hooked me. 3.5 years later, we've donated over 6,000 t-shirts. We've helped 5 people get off the streets. John is one of which. John now works with us. And the whole idea is that I saw a void in myself as a person in this community looking for a way to serve and give, but not knowing how. So from a for-profit, for-good standpoint, we created Wash the City to unite those in need with those who can give. It's been an incredible journey the last 3.5 years where we really have been handed this magical golden road that is really not straight and flat at all. But things have been blessed in that way of giving us a screen printer, learning how to screen print, blessing us with an opportunity at GCU, getting a massive donation to be able to buy our next screen printer, and then really meeting the people in this room. As a kid growing up in Phoenix, obviously seeing State 48 as such an inspiring brand, it was an easy choice to come sit in one of those seats like you guys were. And I showed up to the speaker series last year with just the intent to learn, the intent to listen. And it's so cool to say now that like Nick and Mike are people that I could walk up to and say hi to and hug, and so many people in this room I feel so comfortable with. It's truly a networking experience that's unlike any other. I've been to Chamber of Commerce events and they're not really like this. So I'm extremely grateful for them. And then to go through this process and be awarded a grant. The original vision in my pitch deck for this grant was that I was going to try to open up a retail space. I was blessed with another magical thing down the Golden Road where we were given a bus that we drove 1,100 miles from North Dallas that was basically running on Jesus and prayer, got it here, and was able to use the money to completely outfit it, make it super sick. I wish I could load up a picture, but you're going to have to go to Wash the City on Instagram to see it, or washthecity.co to check it out. And then from there, we've been now blessed with an amazing opportunity in Tempe where we get to move into a thrift store and really help grow our vision for turning used goods into given goods and using our product as a way for you to experience that in your community. I'm so grateful to be here today. I'm extremely grateful to sit and listen to these people over here on the panel. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jay. Gosh, I love this so much. Just hearing his testimony and how much this has impacted him and his business and his walk. It's beautiful, beautiful to see. Now, I do see some people in the back, and like he said, we're a family here. So if you guys want to come make your way, there are seats available. Just go on the exterior sides of the seating. Don't be shy. Come on up. Yes, I'm pointing to you back there, and you come on up, grab a seat, get comfy, because we have a fun-filled night. Like he said, we're the cool business conference, if you will, right? We're the cool ones. All right. So I'm sure you're all wondering after Jay spoke how you can be a winner of these grants too. So we wanted to remind you that yes, we will be awarding $50,000 in grants again this year. Get for that. Come on. A little excitement. $50,000 is pretty amazing. In order to be eligible to apply, please make sure that you, of course, attend at least 3 of the 4 speaker series sessions in person or virtually. Complete at least 1 post-session survey. They will be emailed to you after each session. Complete an application, and once they become available on August 30th, and submit it by the closing date of September 20th. And also important to note that we've revamped our Entrepreneur Grants program, and this year we're looking to fund organizations that meet specific criteria. So before you go through the effort of filling this out, make sure that this applies to you and your business. Your business must be for profit, based in Arizona. Businesses that have been in operations for at least 6 months and are generating less than $500,000 in annual revenue. So if you have any questions, of course, we have a booth here where we can answer those, or you can visit us on our website at State 48 Foundation. Hang on, my paper is slipping. Series.org. Before I introduce our first speaker, I wanted to go over a few housekeeping items for you. During the programming, if you do have to exit, the restrooms are around the corner. Of course, there's drinks available as well. Just do so on the exterior, or else you're going to get a great view here, our virtual audience, a cameo of you right here through the center. So make sure you're going on the outside. Also, we have a full house here, so please be mindful of your volume. Conversations do carry. Although I can't see you from up here, I can hear you, so don't make me do the mom stare or the church stare at you. We want to be respectful of everyone here on stage. And please remember that there will be an opportunity to mix and mingle with everyone here, and of course, our amazing speakers that you'll be hearing from tonight. We do have to break down set and move things along after our programming, so make sure that you go into our mix and mingle area and be able to just mingle and pick their minds after our session. I really do need like a little volunteer here for my paperwork. But without further ado, let's welcome tonight our keynote speaker to the stage. Her name is Elisabeth Pickle, estate and intellectual property attorney, the Mindful Counsel. Now, Elisabeth Pickle is a founder of Mindful Counsel, an Arizona-based estate planning and trademark law firm dedicated to providing an elevated experience for individuals, families, and entrepreneurs. With a focus on preserving legacies and protecting brands, Elisabeth ensures that her clients are empowered to secure their futures with confidence. Elisabeth, take the stage.
Thank you. Building a business is so much more than just the hustle, the grind, and doing the day-to-day work. It's about building a powerful brand that speaks volumes, that screams much louder than words could ever carry. And so, I'm gonna take off my jacket here. When you see this t-shirt, you don't just see a logo. You see a movement, you see a community, and you see the promise of something so much larger than a logo. And so tonight, we're going to talk about how to build a brand and using the power that State 48 has taken and put into their brand. And so what I want to do is, again, say good evening. I'm Elisabeth Pickle. I'm the founder of Mindful Counsel. And we work with entrepreneurs and business owners just like you to help you navigate the legal complexities of building a business and protecting your legacy with as much clarity and confidence as you can. We're built different. We business owners. This is not for everyone. If it was, everybody would be doing it, right? And so I do want to say that it is 7 o'clock at night, and I have a lot to talk about, but I only have 20 minutes. Bethany said, yeah, let's talk about 10 different issues. And I got 20 minutes for you. And I said, wow, all right. So what this speech is going to be about, I think, is really about what we lawyers call issue spotting. And I've got about 10 issues that I want to spot and share with you so that now you are armed with the knowledge and the power to ask more questions in detail, because you may have heard we have a tremendous panel coming up after this keynote. And so what I'm hoping is that you will pick up on some of these issue spotting topics that we're going to discuss, or I'm going to discuss, and then you'll be able to ask questions in more detail. I'm also using my phone this evening. I've got my, does anybody else love the Apple Notes app as much as I do? I love it. I mean, it's fantastic. So I've got my notes and my outline here on my app. So I appreciate your patience and your tolerance as I refer to it occasionally here. So we have a lot to talk about. So let's dive in. The number one question I get from clients, it's always, what entity do I form? When you're starting a business, everybody wants to run. Number one, you get the domain name. Okay, fine, I get it. Cool, I did that too. And then it's, well, what do I need? Do I need an LLC? Do I need a corporation? Do I need an S Corp? And you can ask a lot of attorneys, a lot of business attorneys that question, and you're probably going to get a lot of different responses. And so what I say is that, you know, when you're starting out, you definitely need some structure and a foundation for your business. You're not, think about building a house. You're not just going to throw bricks in a pile and hope that everything is secure and strong. And so the structure that you choose will significantly impact your tax liability, or perhaps even your personal liability with respect to the business versus your personal liability. And, honestly, what I will say about this is, if you're just starting out as an entrepreneur in business, I don't think you need to go run and open an LLC or a corporation. Perhaps you are going to be a solopreneur for the first couple of years. Let's wait and see if you like what you're doing. Is your business going to grow? Are you profitable? I think it makes sense to start from the beginning, right? As a solopreneur. And as your business grows and it progresses, then consider a structure such as an LLC. I love limited liability companies here in Arizona. Arizona makes it very simple and easy to manage an LLC. It's not expensive. And, maybe against my better judgment, you can, as a business owner, form your own LLC online at the Arizona Corporations Commission. And so what I will say, however, is if you do go ahead and form your own LLC or a corporation, remember that it is more than just filling out the application online, choosing a trade name, paying the $50 or whatever it is, and then opening your business and doing your work in your business. You have to behave as a business. And that necessarily means you must have an operating agreement, and your operating agreement needs to discuss, well, who are the members of the LLC? Who has the day-to-day operation tasks? What about exit strategies? Who can join the LLC? So the biggest reason I think people struggle with choosing the entity, it's really about liability and taxes. And so what I can say is, when you consider investing your hard-earned dollar or your grant money, please choose wisely when it comes to a team of maybe an attorney and a good CPA, because every business structure is going to be different based on the size and various other issues, again, with tax liability. And also, don't forget that you need your EIN number. Your EIN number is kind of like the Social Security number for the business. And make sure that you keep your business entity, again, very separate from your personal. So Again, if anything here, it has sparked a question or a concern, please address that and have that question for the panel, because I know we've got my colleague and dear friend, Sarah, and some really successful, talented business owners as well. The other question that comes along with, well, Liz, what kind of entity do I need? Is, well, what about licenses and permits? And this is another answer, and I hate to say it depends, but it does. The regulatory requirements are very industry specific, and that should not surprise anybody, right? So for instance, as an attorney, I own a law firm. I don't have a law firm license. I have a license to practice law. Maybe a contractor. They need special permits. They are required to have special permits to do what they do. We represent a lot of med spas in the Valley. A med spa needs a licensed physician on staff in order to operate according to Arizona law. So I wish I could tell you there's a one-stop shop where you go and you get your permits and your licenses, but it's not, it just doesn't work that way. So it's very industry specific. Again, with regulations, you want to be mindful of employment rules and regulations. If you're in healthcare, HIPAA is another huge regulatory compliance that you must adhere to. And a great place, one of my favorite resources to find almost everything you need to know about your industry and where to go to get licenses and permits is azcommerce.com. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I refer clients to that website all the time. They have some great checklists, and they speak to almost every industry that you could imagine. And so again, very industry specific, but if you have detailed questions about what you might need, please, catch me later. And we also have Q&A with the panel. So after the entity formation and the legal regulations, regulatory compliance, the next, I think, hot topic for business owners and entrepreneurs are contracts. And the contracts, they're kind of like the bread and butter of your business. They're the unsung heroes of the business. And you deserve a solid, legitimate contract, even if you are on day one of starting your business. Now, many of my contracts, I'm sure Sarah is the same, can cost thousands of dollars for a customized legal contract. But you need them. You need them because, again, you don't want to later on have this dispute over the fee or when the deliverables were supposed to show up. And then you have this he said, she said situation, right? So the contract is necessary. When am I going to get paid? How am I going to get paid? What am I going to deliver? What happens if the client or customer doesn't pay? So know that when starting your business, you don't need to pay an attorney thousands of dollars for a contract. And again, many lawyers may disagree with me, but templates are fine. When you're starting out, you start from the beginning. I want to plug my colleague here, Sarah. She has a phenomenal shop called The Legal Shop. And these are attorney crafted and audited templates to start your business. Terms of use, I assume, the services agreements. And so don't feel like you need to retain a lawyer to create all of these expensive contracts from the outset. You don't need to. You start at the beginning and you use a template. And one of the things I will say, however, about contracts is that I have clients that come to me and they'll say, Liz, I want this contract tight. I want this contract buttoned up because I don't want any breaches. I don't want anybody breaching the contract. Okay. People be breaching all day long. You probably already know that. It's just the nature of the human, the human spirit, I guess. We're all excited to, even me, admittedly, we're all excited to sign the contract. Woohoo, we're getting involved. We're having partnerships and vendors and independent contractors. But isn't it funny how sometimes things change and people breach their contracts? So what a contract really is yes, it's a set of promises, but it's more so about the remedy. What is the remedy for breach of contract? So be mindful when you're looking at templates to purchase or you're working with an attorney that is top of mind, not just the promises laid out in the contract, but what is the remedy for breach? Do we have to go to court and sling mud, or can we go to arbitration or mediation? It's a little bit less stressful and a little bit more, I think, efficient. So again, big topics, most often asked questions, legal entities, regulation, licensing, contracts, and next is my favorite, intellectual property. You all have it. You all have in your business intellectual property. So I'm going to abbreviate intellectual property as IP. So when I say IP, that means intellectual property. So when you think about IP, think about an umbrella. And underneath that umbrella, we have various types of IP. We have trademarks, we have copyrights, we have patents if you're an inventor, we have trade secrets. And so they're all treated very differently in terms of how they come about and how we protect them. And so let's talk a minute about trademarks, because those, I think, are the most popular for business owners and entrepreneurs. And so think of the magnificent empire of Nike. Nike is the brand name. That is something that you can claim as your trademark, the brand name, the business name. Then you have the logo. And I don't even have to tell you, I don't have to explain, I don't have to draw the logo. You know immediately what Nike's logo is, and that's the power of a strong trademark. And then, of course, the other kind of trademark we have is the slogan or the tagline. And once again, I'm quite sure I don't even have to tell you what Nike's slogan is. Just do it. I'll tell you anyway. Just do it, right? You see how powerful that is. So again, when you're thinking about trademarks, think about brand names, logos, and slogans. A popular question when it comes to trademarks and securing your trademarks with a formal trademark registration is, well, Liz, what do I do first? I don't have thousands of dollars to shell out to protect this and protect that, and I've got this tagline. And so I always say, again, let's take a breath. Let's be mindful. We are the Mindful Council. Start with your business name, your brand name. We're building a foundation. And your business name and your brand name probably won't change. Guess what changes a lot? Logos. Businesses really tend to evolve with their logos. So that may not be the best first step in terms of protecting your trademarks. And I want to say a little bit more about, registering a trademark, because there's a difference between owning your intellectual property. The moment you have this idea, and then you put it out into the world in this tangible format. That's your intellectual property. You own it. It's yours. You can call dibs on it. I've got legal dibs on this. Now, there are benefits to getting that little R with the circle around it, the federal registration. that gives you the exclusive right to use that trademark in your business and prevent others from doing so without your permission. And so, does everybody need a federal registration? No, you don't. It's not, people want to run out and get a trademark registration because it's hip and cool and trendy. I mean, I have one. And I'm not trying to, toot my own horn here, but back in 2009, law firms were not branding themselves, like ours, Mindful Counsel. But I did get the registration, more so because I started dabbling in IP. But anyhow, it's important to have this discussion with an IP attorney. Does it make sense for you to register your trademark? And I will say that the United States Patent and Trademark Office, uspto.org, really does a wonderful job of providing education for the public. Videos and there's all kinds of videos to learn and understand more about intellectual property. The other type of trademarks, the other type of IP that I work on with clients on quite frequently is your copyright. And the copyright is about protecting written work. So for instance, if you're an author, a book, if you're a musician, your lyrics. Once again, I want you to understand that when this idea comes out of your head and it makes it onto a piece of paper or a tangible format, it's yours. You own the rights, but you are afforded more rights if you go additional steps and protect with a registration. With copyrights, you can also register your copyright with the Copyright Office. So the other question I get about IP is, well, what's the difference between my IP and maybe the business's IP? So what I want to say is, when I was first rebranding my firm to Mindful Counsel, I was a little nervous. I was called a navel gazer. I was called a lot of things because it was just very unnatural and not normal. And it was outside the box, to name a law firm, this kind of a brand name. And so I did not register the trademark in the name of my business. I registered it in my name. But as the firm grew and I saw that the brand was actually well received, especially here in Arizona, I transferred and assigned it to the business. So know that you can own and register your IP in your own name as a sole individual, and you can transfer it and assign it later on to your business. There's so much more that I would like to say, but apparently I have this toxic trait, and that is rambling. But I wanted to really touch base on IP because I think it's the bloodline of your business. And I want to impress upon you how important it is to protect it. It should be an income generating asset for you, and not just something that's, again, cool and trendy. It's your brand. It's your brand. The last thing I want to talk about, and it's everybody's least favorite, is death and dying. You're building a legacy. You're building a business. You're making an imprint on yourself, on your family, and in this world. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing it? I hate to break it to you, but death and taxes, it's a for sure thing. So while I don't expect you to run out and put in this, implement this business succession plan as soon as you start your business, I want you to be thinking about it. It seems counterintuitive to start a business and already be planning for the exit of the business. But you must. You must consider what happens to the business if something happens to you. Well, my kids will take it over. Well, let me tell you a little quick story, if I may. I have a boy. He just graduated from college. Yeah. Thank you very much. And so he is a STEM major. He went to Baylor in Texas, Sikkim Bears. And he's a whiz in science. So we were thinking, well, I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to bring him on as a patent lawyer? And then, you know, when I'm older and I'm not practicing anymore, and I'm off in India in the Himalayas doing my yoga, he can take over. Cool. Oh my gosh, that's my plan. Okay. And he said to me, you know, whoa, mamacita, maybe for a few years, but why is it we always expect our kids are going to want to be part of the family business? It's not always going to be the case. So keep in mind, build that succession plan when you can. Protect everything that you have worked so hard for. Do not let the courts decide what happens to your business. Do not let the state of Arizona decide. Arizona does have a plan for you in your business, and you probably won't like it. So, as an estate planning attorney, I do want to mention that, and it's so very important. So, as I conclude here, obviously running a business, it's not so much just having great ideas. And your venture capital and your investors and these great business owners can speak to this. Your investors, they don't just care about your business idea. They care about you. They're watching you. They want to know if you are going to be able to handle the money, their money. So foundations, legal foundations, are essential when you are building your business. The very last thing I want to say, I would be remiss if I didn't talk a quick second about wellness, mental health, physical health. 2 years ago, my very young husband of 45 years went into full kidney failure. And he's going to be fine. He's young. We're on the hunt for a kidney, and we're going to find one. But never in our wildest dreams could we have imagined that someone so young and vibrant could suffer such a physical illness, an extreme illness. So I want you to promise me that you're going to take care of yourself, your mental health, your physical health, eat right, exercise, pray, meditate if you're into that sort of thing. Take time throughout the day to breathe. And this doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be consistent. Business owners suffer, I should know what the stats are, but significant amount of burnout. Don't let that happen to you. You know, I read a lot of self-help books, and I bet you do too. And I've studied all the gurus. I've practiced with John Kabat-Zinn. I've studied mindfulness-based stress reduction. Another favorite of mine is Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul. I do a lot of mindset work. And I'll tell you, if you need some inspiration, pull up a Jim Carrey video. This man has it figured out. And so I'd like to leave you with a very short quote that you may be familiar with by Jim Carrey. You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. So keep doing it. It's all up to you. You must plan for success. Thank you very much, all of you.
Wow, Liz, you are amazing. And I think we need to get People Be Breaching trademarked on a shirt. It needs to happen. I want a coffee mug. I want all the stickers. So amazing. Thank you so much for your time and expertise. And we're just getting started, you guys. We are starting to prepare for the panel Q&A portion of tonight. We're going to have some amazing guests here. We have Jason Richardson, founder and CEO of Bad Birdie. If you guys were here last week, you heard Shark Tank experience. We have another shark here expertise here to break down some things with his business as well. We have Sarah Gilliland, founding attorney, Rising Brand Legal and Legal Shop, as well as Robert Cardiff, co-founder and COO of The Laundry Sauce. And I already sent you a DM, so make sure you answer it because I do a lot of laundry in my house, okay? So come on up here, come get cozy. We're gonna get set up right here. Thank you guys so much. Looks great. Thank you. They're making their way to the stage. Show them some love, y'all. There we go.
Check.
We got a mic. Uh-oh, I don't think this mic loves me right now. Okay,
Hello?
let me get situated. Well, you guys, tonight is such an important topic, and I think it's something that a lot of business owners, the sexy thing to do is pick the name, go on Instagram, do the marketing and all the fun things. But you guys, this is where it's at. And we had some great offline discussions about, the importance of this topic, the legalities, the finances. That's why I'm wearing my green money-making jacket. Did you feel the theme, y'all? Do you understand what's going on here? So the important topic of obviously financial planning, the legalities behind starting your own business. So before we begin, I would love you guys to do a further deep dive intro into who you are, what you do.
Yeah, I guess I'll start. Robert Cardiff, co-founder of Laundry Sauce, like we were saying. Got the shirt on, so all set. Yep, I've been an entrepreneur, I think my whole life. I was screen printing shirts when I was in high school, selling to anybody that would buy them. So it's in me and I love it. And I'm so excited to get the opportunity to share it. I love what State 48 is doing. I think serving community is one of the most important things in life. So thank you for the opportunity.
Hey guys, I'm Jason Richardson. I'm the founder and CEO of Bad Birdie Golf. We're a golf apparel brand located here in Scottsdale, and we make bold and innovative golf apparel in a sport that has historically been pretty boring and stale. I have 2 girls at home with my wife, and I think this is a really awesome experience, so thanks for letting us come out.
I'm Sarah Gilliland. I am the founding attorney at Rising Brand Legal. We practice in trademarks, contracts, all of that fun stuff that was just finished educating us all on. How are you supposed to hold your head to get it? And I'm also the creator of the Legal Shop. And again, Liz, thank you so much for the plug, but that is contract templates, the best contracts I've written through my 15-year career as an attorney, targeted to service-based businesses that are easy to read, easy to understand, and use in your business. And I will also share the sentiments that what State 48 Foundation is doing here is amazing, and I'm so honored to be here and on this panel with the 2 of you.
All right, well, we're going to dive into really the beginnings of the business, and it's much more than, like we said, picking the name, the branding, all of that, but really the importance of a solid plan and forecasting financially. So can you guys give us some insight when you started your brands and businesses, what that looks like?
Yeah, I can jump in. I had no financial plan when I started my business. Yeah, I honestly didn't. Bad Birdie started as an idea, and I just slowly started pouring thousands of dollars over a 5-month period into it, and then launched it in my apartment as a side hustle. So, but after I launched it, I quickly learned that I needed to build that, and I would recommend learning that instead of on the fly like I did is probably a better way to go. But yeah, that's the early stages.
So I did a little bit different. I think that one, I love the side hustle out of his apartment. Like, give him a round of applause. That's epic. Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking earlier, like what are a couple of the first things you should do as a business, whether it's like, you're trying to grow like a $100 million business, or you're just trying to be a solo entrepreneur at the start. It's you put a forecast together. It's like, what's my financial plan? Like, what do I need for this business? What equipment, what legal fees? And a lot of time you're just making it up. But do it 12 months out. Sometimes it's a bit daunting, do it 2-year, 3-year, but like that's the first thing you do. Where are you going to sell it? What's your price point? And it's, you kind of do it on the piece of paper if you want to, or an Excel spreadsheet, but like that is, when I think about starting a business, is literally the first step I work on. And if you're not good at numbers, you just go grab somebody that you know is good at numbers. But it doesn't have to be complicated. And then I think there's some other stuff, but I've got some stories. Just because I put a forecast together doesn't mean that we've been great at managing money.
No, I love that because truly, I'm sure people can relate in the crowd. You know, this is foreign language of some sorts of trying to think about, and you speak, being a lawyer, to be able to give you the professional advice needed when we just feel like we're just glossed face. Help us, please. What does this mean? A lot of it doesn't make sense. So when you meet with someone starting their business, what are some of the first things you do with?
Well, and we were talking about this offline too. Personally, as an attorney, I actually see myself as an entrepreneur first. I can relate to the entrepreneur. I have been through everything that you are going through or will go through. And I really try to level with my clients that way. And instead of trying to impress you with reciting a bunch of legal jargon and using words that you don't understand and make you gloss over, I personally try to level with where you are and speak your language and get you where you need to be legally with something that you can understand. And what I recommend any lawyer that you talk to, that it's okay to demand that of them. It's okay to require that of them. And if anybody's talking over your head, or, you know, I've even heard kind of degrading you, talking down to you because you're a new business owner, and any professional service, legal, finance, any of it, and you don't feel like they're understanding you or care about you understanding them, there are plenty to move on to, and you get to be respected. You deserve to be respected. What you're doing in your business is so impressive. So just because somebody has a degree or has an expertise, they should always treat you and talk to you with respect.
Jason, we talked a little bit about, well, you just mentioned, you know, some mistakes early on, and you kind of just went on the fly and creating your business and things that you wish you would have known. What are some of those things?
Yeah, things I wish I would have known. Probably a really long list. I think top of mind from a financial standpoint, I would have wished I would have kept and organized my receipts early. You know, I would like to claim that in my previous work experience, I managed budgets. I had known finances, but it's different when you're running your own. It's different when you're like, oh, I'm going to go to the post office and spend $3 on something. You're going to go do something. And so I think get QuickBooks or whatever you want and like track your receipts. I remember with my wife being on vacation at the end of the year, and I had to sit in the hotel lobby for Wi-Fi going through 1,000 line item transactions because I didn't properly put the receipts in. And so just like there's a learning there. Also understanding that when you buy inventory, it doesn't come out of your P&L, your profit and loss statement, until you sell it. It's an asset. So that was a huge learning for me. I was like, oh man, I just went out and spent $10,000 on inventory and I only sold, let's say 5,000. So it's a $5,000 loss. False. I'm actually going to still have to pay taxes on it because I have an asset, which is on the balance sheet. So I don't want to get too complicated on it, but a big learning is that when you buy inventory, it is not like it doesn't go on the P&L as cost of goods sold until you actually sell it. So that was a big wake up call in my first year of business because I thought I had to pay a bigger tax bill.
Yeah, my toxic trait definitely is, oh, it's a write-off. And my husband wants to kill me at the end of the year. He's like, where are your receipts, woman? Like, everything's a write-off. It's fine. Robert, how about for you?
Yeah, lots of lessons learned. I think one of the biggest things is like, you know, we as business owners, people that have business ideas, we're always trying to like do everything ourselves. You know, it's like, well, we don't have any money, you know, it's just like it. And so like like I said earlier, is like put a financial plan together, basic, you know, like I'll tell you a quick story. Like, so me and my founder partner of Laundry Sauce, we're like, oh, we got this other cool idea. And we're like, we'll just launch the business on Amazon. And I don't know how many people in the crowd have thought about like launching an Amazon business, but we got the LLC set up. We started like, you know, a logo. We put a good amount of money into just like setting things up. And then, you know, I was like, well, we need to do a financial plan. So then we started looking at, all right, well, like how much are the Amazon fees? Like, what are the seller fees? Like, you know, what is it going to cost to get the inventory in there? What's the cost of inventory? And we like did the 12-month plan. We're like, we literally cannot make money on this. So we're like, we spent, a few $1,000s, but this is a little forecast story there. But I think like the one thing is we try to do everything ourselves, but we're not good at everything. And so there are a lot of fractional resources. Everybody, I think when I first started my first business, I was like, oh, I need an employee for this. I need an employee for that. Like my business is a real business if I have employees. And that's just not the case. I mean, you've got to be scrappy but you're also not going to be great at finance or great at collecting your receipts and updating that in QuickBooks or being a designer. And so there's a lot of like fractional resources out there. I mean, you can go on Upwork or Fiverr and find almost every single skill set except for qualified lawyers like this you want, and you can pay them hourly. So if you're not good at bookkeeping or not good at putting a forecast together, like go find a freelancer or a fractional service and have that person help you. So that's like the one thing is like leverage fractional resources. And then the other thing is like, there are going to be people that you're going to need as you're growing your business. One is a lawyer. One is a CPA. And then in your industry, you might need to have a technical advisor, or you might need to, have other services. And it's good to just like identify those people in advance. So you can typically get about an hour's worth of time from a lawyer, just asking them questions, like what entity do I need to get started? Or you go CPA, like, when do I need to file taxes? Is there a fractional bookkeeper that So like really encourage just to kind of build your bench of resources so that like when you need those people, like they're ready to go.
Can either of you guys identify a time when you faced maybe a financial challenge in your business, right? You're getting everything set up and then boom, it's bound to happen. But with what you have in place, can you guys talk us through how you worked through that as well?
All right. Well, I don't want to talk like the whole time, but I do have a story that was pretty wild. So I'm really big on forecasts, as you guys know. And last year, so we started, this year will be our third year selling. So Laundry Sauce, the world's best smelling laundry detergent. You guys got to check it out. But last year would have been going into October last year we were 2-year birthday. And we've been working on the business, I think about 4.5 years now. And we'd raised quite a bit of money, and we opened a funding round in I think like May 2023. And so we'd raised a good amount. I think we were raising like $5 million. It was a good amount. And I think we got like about $2 million raised like right away. And then we had this other investor say he was going to invest $2 million. And so for any e-commerce business, like going into Q3, you're like buying all your inventory, and then going into Q4, you're selling the heck out of it and hoping to make all your money back. So this investor, said he was going to invest the money, and then like, a month goes by, he hadn't invested the money. And so we're like spending money on our credit card to buy inventory, and we also spend quite a bit on ads and stuff. So anybody that's like has their phone open right now, it says Laundry Sauce, you'll probably get an ad for it.
They're always listening.
Yeah, exactly. So we like assumed this money was coming in, this 2 million, which is getting us pretty close to like closing out our funding round. And I remember like I was going on this trip. This is like month after month. So it's like July, August, we're really not like thinking about our backup plan because it's a lot of money. So then we're like racking up the credit card. I think by this time, like I'm just like opening up the kimono here. So I think we had like 420,000 on our credit card, and now it's like October. Like, so we've bought all our inventory. We're low on cash. So told you we raised $2 million. Kid you not, I took a screenshot on my phone of our bank account. End of October, we had $2,000 in our bank account. It was crazy. So I'd flown down to Central America, do some like nonprofit work down there, and I'm like telling my business partner and I'm like, we can't keep spending money, like, and we have a lot on the credit card, and I mean, I get off the plane where I was in El Salvador, and I open up my phone, I get on Wi-Fi, and credit card transactions are declining. And I was like, holy shit. And I'm like, where's this? You know, my partner was like, we're getting this money. Like, this guy is good for it. You know, this. And so I was like, well, our credit card needs to be paid, and we only have $2,000 in the bank account. We owe like $400,000. So I was like, we are totally effed. You know, I was like, where's our money? Like, I was like, my business partner and I were like screaming at each other. And, you know, that was probably like the craziest roller coaster we've had. And ever since then, it's kind of been like, you know, we've been flirting pretty close to the line. But my lesson learned from that gnarly experience, it ended up being all right. Like, we did like, I think $2 million in sales in November, which was like insane. And, you know, we're doing okay today, you know, thank God. But my advice is, like, when you go raise money, some of you will raise money, some of you will get debt, some of you will use credit cards, some of you will bootstrap it. You guys are total badasses. You know, don't ever count on that money coming in. Like, if somebody says, I'm going to, you know, loan you this amount of money, or I'm going to invest this amount of money, if they say it's going to be there on that date, and then that date's not, you give them one more shot. If they don't give you on that next shot, that money's literally not coming in. So don't put yourself and your business and your family in a bad position by being ignorant and relying on other people. And you always need a backup plan. So we didn't have a backup plan, and it all worked out somehow. But those are my lessons learned.
Got me sweating over here. That is a stressful situation. A lot of prayer. I'm glad it worked out for the sauce. Thank the Lord. How are you, Jason?
Yeah, I think very similar stories I can speak to. I think that being an entrepreneur, you're gonna have to get used to coming up with cash quickly, and you're gonna wake up days where you don't have cash, and it's kind of part of the game. I don't know any successful entrepreneur who has basically run out of money, and you kind of have to keep it up front into your to your staff and everyone else that, hey, things are better. So, and I think also too, before I jump in, I think plan B is really good. Early days, I would think about what's my plan C and what's my plan D. So even to this day, I know that if I know one of our biggest customers is going to cancel an order, I know the 5 calls I would make to be able to like liquidate the inventory or move through it. Or I know, hey, here's our 5 different ways that we could get cash as soon as we need it. So 2 examples. Maybe 4 years ago. So this is tied to accounts payable, right? So a lot of times you buy things and you pay for them later. So I buy inventory 9 months out. And so it was waste management, and I got an invoice from our factory for $100,000, and our bank account had 50,000, and it was due in a week and it wasn't going to ship. So I remember very vividly sitting at waste management 2 beers in, literally calling people, trying to figure out how I was going to get $100,000. And I never wanted to be in that position again. And so I literally was like, okay, I'm going to build all these processes and systems and structures so I never have to go get $100,000, which was a lot for us. Then fast forward to 3 summers ago, I had a newborn, my daughter Ivy. We're walking in the middle of the summer. I go out, I'm like going to walk her at 6 a.m. and I get I open up my cell phone, and it's like an invoice from one of our factories for $500,000, and it's due today. And I look at our bank account, and our bank account had $200,000. We had a $3 million line of credit, which was totally maxed out. And I go, holy shit, what am I going to do? I have done everything possible to not feel this way again. And so I think in that experience, what I ended up was able to do is work with our factory. We've been a good customer, and we were able to pay them back. But I think what that has taught me is you have to have a resilience and know how to use money, and be able to find ways to take on debt, but in smart ways, and be able to work through it. So you got to be really careful. I would not recommend it early on. Be really smart with your money. And similar, like, if you have a good sales day or you're winning, like, put it in savings, build a reserve account. Don't get greedy. Don't go buy a new car. Don't go do something just because you just sold your first thing. Like, don't go buy a BMW. Don't go do something crazy just because you think you made success, because cash will get away from you. And even now at a more scaled business, I'm very aware of it. And we built a lot more processes, and I've had to hire people that actually know how to professionally do it, because I realized very quickly this is not a skill set and I'll get myself into trouble. So yeah.
How many holy-ish moments for y'all? Gosh, you're making me nervous.
It's part of the game.
I think that's part of it too. Yes, it is part of the game, but I think that is what holds a lot of people back. One, how do I find the money to even start? Two, how do I sustain this? I mean, having to come up with 100K or more in a day, how can you even imagine that and work towards that? Sarah, for you, I know you see yourself so much as through the entrepreneurial
got
lens.
one.
Tell me, we love these stories.
So while I absolutely like mimic the sentiment that if it's not your skill set, delegate it, hire it, have somebody else take care of things that are not your expertise. And a lot of times that is money. Money's a big part of it. So in my first firm ownership, we CPA, payroll, all of that, we delegated right away. On no realm could we have that be within our bandwidth. And I'll just kind of share my lesson before I share the story is, even though you absolutely should delegate those things and hire those things out, keep a tab on them. Don't let yourself be completely ignorant to it. So what happened to me when the IRS agent that has the authority to arrest people showed up at my office is we had delegated tax, accounting, payroll. I could not have that on my plate. Neither could my business partner at the time. And we had an excellent CPA. They sold their firm. Young guy, seemed to really understand what he was doing. Super likable. Great. You guys keep taking over. We can't even think about shopping it. And so they took care of it. And it was not even a blip in my brain until that IRS agent showed up at my office. And I learned quickly that our CPA had been deducting payroll taxes from our 12 employees' paychecks, but not paying it to the IRS. There are so many taxes that you can pay later. That's not legal advice or tax advice. For the most part, the IRS isn't as scary as they sound, and you have a tax set, you can pay it later. If you have taken money from your employee and do not put it where it belongs, that is theft. That is a crime. So luckily, I had a very nice and reasonable IRS agent that came to my office, not with handcuffs. And what I had to drop everything and show her is, one, I did have a handful of emails from that CPA where he had referred to his takeover of the firm as triage. And there had been a couple other little mistakes that really weren't alarming that I had a good paper trail of communication on. They handle it and they were doing it poorly. And the second thing I had to show is that at no point did our operating account drop below that amount that was owed. But when she told me I had to show her that, as you guys just explained how the operating account does when you're new in business, I was not at all confident that that's what it was going to show. Luckily it did, and I did not go to jail.
Yes, I was gonna say, did you end up in jail after this? Please give us the story.
Never have I ever been to jail.
Well, I was gonna pivot into some of the legalities and just things that catch you off guard as especially a new business owner when you're not so well versed in this area. What are some things that you've experienced, without obviously exposing the clients that you've worked with, but things that you wish you could have been ahead on as someone, a legal counsel for them in their beginnings of their business?
Yeah, for sure. I will say I will also mimic the sentiments of Liz on contracts. Contracts save relationships, they save friendships, and those things that come up and surprise people that they thought would never happen could have been prevented so easily with a good contract. A contract that covers everything, that isn't just filled with a bunch of crazy words that you're like, sounds legal to me. But actually protects you. probably one of the most common things I see and hear is around IP. We all know the word. We don't say intellectual property anymore. We say IP.
No.
Is around IP. And not to like freak you out or get you to punch the person next to you, but it's usually somebody within your sphere. It's not some stranger that somebody in Maine thought of the name Bad Birdie and took it at the same time as you, or saw you put something on social media and then took it. It's usually a friend or a colleague or somebody within your sphere that is like, they have a really good idea, but I think I can execute it quicker. And that feels like a freaking punch in the gut. And an NDA would have solved that. An NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. You and I are talking about a business deal or something we may both go in on. We're going to sign an NDA that neither one of us are going to take each other's ideas. And a lot of contracts, whether it's an independent contractor, an employee, a fractional person that you hire in your business, a lot of those contracts would have NDAs in it, where that person in your sphere isn't going to take your brilliance and what you're working really hard towards and try to make it their own.
People be breaching
People be breaching.
all
TM.
day. It'd be the closest ones to you, I'm telling you. Jason, when you were coming up with Bad Birdie, I love how you, first of all, came up with, side note, the name in the apartment. It just came to you, just a moment of, it's going to be Bad Birdie. But did you experience anything in trying to, trademark it and all of the legalities behind the logo and the saying and everything tied to that?
Yeah, so my decision was not to trademark it early on because it was just an idea. And so I waited and I was like, okay, I'm going to launch this and I'm going to take on the risk up front because I'm going to put dollars into marketing and a couple other things. But basically after about 9 months, I did file. So my theory, I think there was good advice earlier, is you got to kind of play this game of how much risk you're going to take on in dollars and spending. And so I waited till it was a proven model, and then I had sold a couple hundred shirts till I actually went out and got a trademark. And I waited even longer till actually we have a birdie logo to actually get that trademark. So for me, it was the name first. And then when I knew that the logo was what we were sticking with, so another great point of advice, then I did that. And that was about 2 years into the business. And it was arguably, it could have been a little bit late, but I was willing to take on the risk knowing that it's going to cost me a couple $1,000s to do that. I didn't have thousands of dollars to go get a trademark. I didn't think that was the best for the business. So you have to make your own decision based on risk tolerance and what you think is best for the business.
What about the laundry sauce, Robert?
Laundry sauce, we right away got a trademark and we set up the entity and kind of went full force in that. But I think the first thing, I love what you said about like risk versus how much money you want to spend. I mean, if you have an idea, and you have a name, like go see if anybody's using that. Like just do a little research. Like, is the domain available? Like, is there a company that has that name? And then if it is available and that name, isn't really being used commercially, then maybe decide, hey, can I go spend, $500 to have a lawyer do like a proper trademark search? Because you get down a path. I mean, you probably did a bit of research and you're kind of like, oh, I'm going to take that risk. But doing the forecast and then doing a trademark search are like my two first things that I do when starting a business.
Sarah, we were kind of talking about this and just how difficult it truly is for someone just to online name is available, to have the expertise or like the scope of practice to understand it's not that simple. So is that important?
Yeah, a lawyer's favorite answer to everything is it depends or it's complicated.
Wake up, y'all.
And that's true, but that's, I think the way you just described it, Robert, is perfect with the way to approach it of do your own search first, hit the Google box. You can do your own search on uspto.gov that Liz mentioned to see if that exact name is taken. That's not an inclusive search. That's not going to say it's a yes, but it'll definitely tell you if it's a no. If it's a definite no, if somebody has the identical thing. But what a lot of clients that come to me that end up having to rebrand, which rebrands break my heart almost as much as they break the client's heart, is they assume if the exact same thing isn't trademarked, that they can have it, because that's how LLCs work and that's how domain names work. So I can add a "the" to it, or I'm going to do laundry sauced instead of laundry sauce.
Period.
That will not work for trademarks. The law around it, and it is very subjective, but the law around it is that it can't be confusingly similar. So every single trademark application is reviewed by an examining attorney at the USPTO, and they are using their legal brain, but they're humans, to look at it and say, is there anything else trademarked in this area of business that is so similar that the typical consumer would say, oh, I bet they're under the same umbrella. And so it's very subjective like that. And every trademark is reviewed very subjectively like that. But that's what they're looking for. And that's what, as a lawyer, when you do your first search and you're like, okay, there's nothing identical, that's the next step to have a lawyer look at it, because we're looking through the same lens as the USPTO examiners. And we're looking at everything else out there saying, is there anything that's just a little bit too close? And what's your level of risk there? Almost zero trademarks are 100% yes. There's some that's going to be 100% no. But for the most part, we're looking at what's your level of risk? And that's where you then make that decision of, what's my risk tolerance? How do I feel about this? Of, let's take a swing for it. It takes at least a year to wrap up a trademark application. None of this is quick. So what's my risk tolerance that I'm going to move forward with this brand for a year and maybe get bad news, hopefully get good news? And so that's what you're talking about with your lawyer, is what's the risk when we look at the whole picture and subjectively how the trademark attorney may be looking at it.
I know it's so hard to say like a definite, this is the timeline, this is when you come to me, this is when you get the trademark, but how many people out here have an idea of the name of their business already in mind and they've been holding out? You don't have to tell anyone, people be breaching, don't tell anyone, but raise your hand, you have a name, you're praying on it, a few of you, okay. So at what point, if you can give like just tangible advice, they come to you and start that process?
The most lawyerly answer is before you start using it. Before you start using it, we're going to file an intent to use application. You're going to get that registration. Nobody does that, and that's okay. Because who's read Big Magic by Liz Gilbert? Anybody? Okay, we've got a few hands. If you haven't, you need to. It's a quick read and it's brilliant. But there's talk in that book about when the universe gifts you with an idea and your timeline on acting on it before it's going to gift it to somebody else. And I think if you subscribe to that thought, the idea of acting on something in the sense of a trademark and then doing nothing with this business for a year that's just so counter to how we think as entrepreneurs. So that's my very long answer. For the most legally right answer is as soon as possible. But I don't disagree with how you did it, making sure that it's a proven idea, it's going to work out, because you're going to drop a couple $1,000s on it, and you need to be responsible with that budget early on for sure. And to just go willy-nilly filing a bunch of trademarks as you change your mind is probably not responsible either. So how about that for
That's great.
It depends.
It
It's
depends.
complicated.
Lawyering over here. All right, final question before we get into the virtual audience. They have questions for you as well as our audience here. But for each of you, if you could just touch on what professional advice, legal or financial, do you wish you sought out earlier in your journey? If you could impart some knowledge to everyone here tonight, just one little thing.
I would probably say leadership and management coaching and advice, especially if you're going to have a team. I started out my first firm. We had a team of about a dozen people, which is small in the realm of a law firm, but that's a lot of people to manage. And I think if you're going to be managing people, make sure you're good at it.
Or try to be.
Yeah, I'll echo people management is a skill I'm always working on, and it's harder. The more people you have, it's harder. I'm just going to go back to this: have a plan A, have a plan B, have a plan C from both financial and legal. Know that if you're taking a legal risk by not getting your trademark? And then what's your backup name? What are you going to rename your company as an example? Same thing financially. I think the earlier on, the more backup plans you have, it just makes you more nimble and snappier to be able to pivot, because you will have to pivot, guaranteed.
I've got three things. So one earliest thing I ever learned the hard way on is that I had an idea. This was, I think I was like 24. I had a business, you know, and I really, really wanted somebody to work on it with me. And so I was like, I'll give you 50%. Like, let's be 50% partners. And that's like the dumbest thing you can do. Like, you know, because it's your idea. Like, you've probably put some kind of work into it. Maybe you've made a logo, maybe you've done research. Like, it's your idea, and that's very, very valuable. So I had a buddy of mine, you know, I learned that hard lesson, and I had to like get this, you know, we did parted ways. It wasn't great. So I had a buddy who was starting a business. He worked on it for like 2 years, and he's like, I'm going to have this guy come in. He's a good friend of mine. And we're going to be 50-50 partners. And I was like, his name's Alex. I was like, Alex, you've been working on this for 2 years. You put in $20,000. Like that's crazy. I was like, go offer him 10% or 15%, and that vests over 3 or 4 years. So, you know, because that might be really attractive to somebody that like didn't have the idea in the first place, that hasn't put any time and effort. So there's, you know, just be mindful about equity in your business and giving it away too easily, but then also have a vesting schedule, because if it doesn't work out, they stop working, you know, they only walk away with maybe 3%, you know, because they only worked for maybe 6 months. Another thing is that if right out of the gate, like for laundry sauce, we didn't know anything about laundry detergent. But we were really excited. We knew how to build a brand. And so the first thing we did after the financial plan was we went out and found an expert in laundry, and we call him our mad scientist. It's this guy. He's got a PhD in analytical chemistry. He works at Unilever in the laundry department. Like, he is the guy that helped us develop laundry sauce, the product. And like, if you don't have that skill set, then you should go get that skill set. And sometimes that's a supplier that you go find out the best supplier that makes the type of shirts, you know? So, and then the last one is, there's so much technology at your fingertips, and so nowadays it's like, there's no reason that you shouldn't have the key metrics to your business and how to measure that at your fingertips at literally all times. So as an example, if you have a sales organization, if you sell your a service, like your metrics are did I have a bunch of leads? Did I convert those leads? And obviously, like, you know, how much money did I make? For laundry sauce, it's the first question he was asking me is like, what's your CAC, cost to acquire a customer? What's your average order value? How long does it take you to pay off that acquisition? I mean, those are like standard e-commerce metrics. And we use a couple different technology. One's called Triple Whale. One's called Lifetimely. I can literally pull up my phone and know at any point throughout the day where we're at from CAC to average order value across Facebook, TikTok, Google, all those, like, instantaneously. And we didn't have to build Lifetimely, Triple Whale. Like, we just pay a couple $100 a month, and we get like this technology that uses AI and tells you. So know how to measure your business. And then, you know, there's lots of technology out there to help you do that.
Love that. Love that you gave some tools that everyone could look into as well. All right. I'm sure we have some questions here in the audience. So if you do have
question about your I'm in the front. Anyways, Brendan and I own a faith-based bodybuilding brand, and I wanted to ask you, at what point did you start to like pay yourself? Because for us, we're bootstrapping this business that we started in high school, and we're both going to Berea ASU and working jobs to make this dream like a reality. And I feel like something that's been difficult for us is figuring out like because when you're in college, you're so broke, right? So we're figuring out like we want to allocate more time towards the business, but we also don't want to take any money out of the business. And I was just wondering, like, at what point did you start to pay yourself or allow some of the business revenue to go and help you with your life?
Was that for me?
Yes.
Cool. So I started my business in May 2017, and I paid myself for the first time in May 2020. So it was 3 years. It was after we had a really big sales month, so that allowed it. But I would have not paid myself indefinitely. So I think I wouldn't time yourself based on 3 years. Some people might be able to pay themselves in the first month. I think it's really about profitability and really what your long-term goal is. I think a lot of people get confused that being an entrepreneur, you make a lot of money, and that's actually false. In the short term and even in the midterm, I think it can be more of a long-term play. And the broad, I'm speaking in broad strokes. So I think when the business can afford it, and especially at your young age, I would bet that if, let's say you're like, I'm going to pull out 10K, if you put that 10K in the business as an investment, thinking about it that way, it's probably going to have a bigger ROI than you. Like, I would rather like skip a weekend trip or something, put that money in, and you're going to make more money in the future. If you want to look at it strictly, you can't look at everything strictly like ROI financial, but at least to give you some guidelines. So I think it's super normal not to pay yourself. People think you're probably making a lot of money, but you're probably not. It's fine. I had multiple employees before I paid myself. So it's totally normal. Yeah.
What's up? Can you guys talk about what you do for your personal and professional development?
We're like, who wants to?
Yeah, I mean, curious to hear their answers actually. I mean, for me, it all starts like early morning. So the first thing I do, I get up early. That's my best time. I journal. I do a gratitude journal. I read, for me, faith-oriented person. So I read a little bit of like scripture, and then I have this book called The Daily Stoic. Stoicism is amazing. I love it. It's like 1 page a day. It's super easy. But it really helps me. It's like you can only control like what you can control. Lots of stuff happens out, in the world with your business that you don't have any control over. And so it's like, it really helps me like focus on that. It starts my day off, and then sometimes my day goes sideways, but that's really important. I think like for me working out, like I try to work out like every day. It's like free therapy for me. And then eating healthy. So those are like the three things that I do for my mental sanity.
I would say, yes on all that when I'm at my best, and then also having the tolerance that sometimes you just can't even freaking muster that. Like sometimes you need that extra hour of sleep. Sometimes you need to just not try to fix anything in the moment, and sometimes you need to just sit in the suckage and let it suck, and that's okay too, with the goal of I'm going to get back to that. A couple months ago, I was super proud of myself at how often I was getting to the gym, because I agree, free therapy. And my husband that's at the back will laugh when I say the last time, he's been so supportive that every day he just invites me. And I'm like, I'm never going to the freaking gym again in my entire life. Not true. I know it makes me feel better. And sometimes it's just hard, and that's okay. Don't shame yourself. Don't guilt yourself of, oh, I'm not doing this. Just know the goal is I'm going to get back to that. And staycations. If you live here, everybody lives here, right? Hello. Staycations are clutch.
I think it's seasonal. There's seasons. I think it's a blend, right? You're gonna just have to grind it out a lot of the time. For me now, I didn't do this, but I'm in like 2 different business groups. One is faith-based, one is strictly business. I have gone through having 1 to 2 coaches at a time. Some are how to be a better people leader. Some are how do I operate the business better? So I think it just depends on what your personal values are and what's most important, but it's totally normal where I've had seasons where you're just at a grind, and that's kind of the sacrifice of running your own business. You're not going to be able to live I've never been able to, and I don't know a lot of entrepreneurs that have like this balance at all times. I think you're always kind of fighting for that. So I would love to learn and continue to grow in that too.
You're going to be broke and you're fighting for your life. Welcome.
I have one more thing. So I also like started with a strategic business coach about a year ago, and that has been like amazing. I mean, the way I look at it is like I meet with her once a week for an hour, and it's not just a business coach, it's a straight up life coach. Holds me accountable, and like my personal development over the last year, as like, you know, I've kind of been grinding through Laundry Sauce, has been incredible. And the way I justify it is like by paying this person every month, like, am I going to be more successful from that money that I'm investing myself? And it's absolutely been worth it.
One other thing to add, all your deepest insecurities will come up as you run a business. It's like nothing better than bringing the worst party out. So I've also spent a lot of time in therapy, and there's a lot of coaching, all that stuff, but seriously, like your worst version of yourself will come up to your friends and your family. So be prepared.
And I think one more, so these two the microphones get close to each other. I think another thing to add is making sure you are getting in rooms like this when it's, you know, your spouse may not understand or your partner may not understand and your parents don't understand, and it can feel really lonely and scary and hard. Also amazing, in addition to the staycations, an amazing thing about being where we live is there's so many rooms like this where people understand, and maybe you don't have to spill what's going on, but we all just like have that look that we can be like, yep, going through it too. And it just can make you feel seen, make you feel not alone, and make it feel like this a lot more hopeful.
Oh, hello again. Question on the legal side. What are some major red flags to financial and legal situations when it comes to scams? I know I faced one in trademarking, and since businesses and information is public, they can really scare you, and it's extremely scary when it happens. And there's some that I can't even think of, but what are some red flags?
That is such a good question. So my past life, I've referred a couple times to my first law firm because I've done this twice. I'm not crazy. My first law firm was in title. So basically when you go buy a house, the place that you go sign all the documents. So there's so many scams around that industry that I am just like zeroed in for it. So here's the psychological tactics a scammer will use. It will feel urgent, or it will feel very calm and come from somebody you trust. So I'm sure you've all heard about the scams where like your uncle calls you and is like, hey, you know, I'm in this situation and just go to get me a money order for $500 and send it in Starbucks gift cards. It's either like feels really benign or really urgent. Nothing about legal or tax is actually like right now urgent. So if anything comes across you that you have to pay this now, even IRS lady that could have taken me to jail, I wasn't going to jail right then. So nothing is actually, oh my gosh, act now urgent. So I would say that is your number one red flag. If anybody is coming at you with something that you better do now, or else something crazy is going to happen, that really doesn't exist. So that would be your first pause. I have actually gotten tons of clients off of the scams. One of the most common scams you'll see is someone will send you a letter, and it'll be from the trademark office of legal, blah, blah, blah. They call themselves everything but a lawyer. So they're writing that legal line. But here's what the letter says. And intuitively, if you stop and think, you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But the letter will say, we're from this office. We have a client that's going to file a trademark for Bad Birdie. And we noticed that you don't have it trademarked, but you were using it first. If you pay us $5,000 by tomorrow, again, here's the urgency, then we'll file it for you instead of our client. But if you don't by tomorrow, we're going to file it for our client and you're going to be screwed. There's the urgency, there's the high dollar amount, and there's the, oh my gosh, somebody's going to take my thing. The way those scam letters benefit my business is somebody gets scared, they pause, they ask a friend, and they're like, that doesn't sound right. Call Sarah and ask her about it. And I'm able to be like, no, but you might want to file that. And we do. But those are the really common scams, and it's going to try to rely on urgency, and you have to act now and you have to pay this large amount of money. So I would say anything like that, just pause. You have a day, you have a week. Nothing crazy is going to happen. So pause, utilize your resources and ask questions. Do not give anybody money until a professional has told you to do so.
I just stopped answering my phone too, because your phone number gets out there. And so any numbers that I don't know, like, I'm like, well, they're probably gonna just leave a message, voicemail, like, and if it's important enough, like, then I'll know to call back. So.
Hello, my name's Frank. I'm a CU graduate. Right now I'm trying to build like an ed tech business that they want to pay me consulting fee. At what point should I have it flow through there?
It depends, and it's complicated. Man, I almost want to bring Liz up and make her answer this. So somebody is paying you as a consultant and they're paying you as an individual. What is the area of business again? Ad tech? Oh, ed tech. Oh, okay. Okay, so here's the way to evaluate it, and we can always talk offline. Now, the first thing I usually tell people is if you're messing with people's homes, pets, bodies, or kids, LLC right away, sooner rather than later, because those are going to be high risk liability areas. I'm not familiar with enough with your industry, so that's why I said we could talk offline, but I would say in your industries as a whole, think about how high is the risk that something could go wrong and that mistake would cost people money. If that answer is it's a pretty high risk, then having the LLC sooner rather than later makes sense, because and assuming you follow all the rules that Liz told us about, not just filing the LLC, but what it does, LLC stands for Limited Liability Company, a bunch of legal words. But what that means is it limits your own personal liability for the things that the company does. So in your role acting as a consultant, that would fall under things the company is doing. So if you have the LLC, everything is 6-2 and even, and a mistake is made that costs money and you get sued for it, your company is getting sued. You are not personally getting sued, meaning your personal assets, savings account, if you have one left after being an entrepreneur, all of that stuff would not be subject to that lawsuit. It's just the business, and that gets really important. So the sooner rather than later is going to be if there's a high risk that something could happen and cost money and result in a lawsuit, then the LLC sooner rather than later makes sense.
Thank you. You're getting us really excited to just go out there and face the world, Sarah. All right, we're going to take some virtual questions here from the back, and they're coming through our virtual audience, so they'll be asking y'all some questions here.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay? Okay. A virtual question is, this may sound like a simple question, but how much when you start your business should you set aside to pay for taxes?
It depends on how much money you're making. So if you have a kind of an interesting situation because you thought you were taking a loss on your inventory, but, you depending on like what type of entity, you might have like you have your state fee and you have your federal fees. But from a tax perspective, when you're starting your business, a lot of times that business will be losing money. So for Laundry Sauce, like we have definitely lost money. So every year we're actually losing money. We're not actually paying taxes. Now, with that being said, we do pay sales tax because we sell online in every state. And so we have a software called TaxJar that we integrate with Shopify, and that calculates all the sales tax and then automatically deducts it on a monthly basis by state. So it's different than like annual taxes, but it just depends. Like, are you making money? And if you're making money, then you need to look at your federal and state taxes, and then you need to be pulling that amount of money out every month and saving it. And then if it's, sales tax, then you need to look at like what that rate is. If it's just in the state of like Arizona, then you can that's somewhat easy, but you should talk to a CPA. But if you're doing it like e-commerce sales, you can have technology to help you with that.
Thank you. One more, explain the difference between brands and logos from a legal standpoint.
It's complicated and no, I'm sort of just kidding. So it's sort of the same thing depending on how you're looking at it. Your brand as a whole, I guess I'm not saying from a legal standpoint, but your brand is your whole identity. But when we're looking at it from a legal standpoint, we're going to say the name of your business is part of your brand, and a slogan that you use is a part of your brand, and the logo that you use is a part of your brand. So each one of those things is an identified part of your brand. And I have a really scientific method on how to decide what to spend those legal dollars to protect each part of that brand. And it's what would really suck if somebody else ripped it off. And that kind of helps you in that logo aspect of the brand of, is this part of it that I need? Is this part of the brand that I need to protect from a legal standpoint? Because like you were saying, it took a minute to know for sure that logo was going to stick. And sometimes, especially when you're new in business, you ebb and flow with it, or maybe it's just kind of something generic that goes with the name of the business. So the logo may not have the most legal importance to you, and it usually doesn't have the most legal importance at the front. When I say usually, more statistically, not that it couldn't apply to anybody. But each one of those things, the logo is definitely under the umbrella of your brand legally. And it's just one of those pieces for you to evaluate how bad would it suck if somebody else ripped this off, or if I got a letter from someone saying I had to stop using it. And those are the things that should get higher priority to legally protect.
All right, y'all, give it up for our amazing panelists here tonight. We learned so much. And you guys can make your way back, get a drink of water. I know that they will be available at our mix and mingle session after this towards the back. Again, we will have to wrap up pretty quickly here with the stage. So make sure that you find them in the crowd and thank them again for their time. Just a few more reminders before we let you know. As you can see, it's so important here at State 48 Foundation to bridge this connection that we have here tonight. As much as we like to be a resource for entrepreneurs, there are already so many wonderful organizations across our state offering their support to business owners. So each week we will highlight different organizations across the valley, and they'll be set up in vendor before and after each session. So be sure to stop by and learn how they can be a resource for you. And this week we have Culture Crush Business, ASU Edson, ENI Institute, City of Phoenix Planning and Development Department. And a reminder to everyone here tonight and virtual audience that you will receive a survey via email tomorrow. So if you don't receive one, please check your spam folder. Sometimes it gets in there before reaching out to our organizers. And lastly, as you walk around tonight, you will see some QR codes around the building. And that's a way for you to just, if it's in your heart, donate to our foundation. It just keeps events like these free for you to come and listen and get all the insight and amazingness that we have each week here in the month of August. And after the main event, we invite everyone to stick around. Once again, let's network and have some fun closing out the night here together. Thank you all so much for joining us here tonight. The next session is Mastering Marketing, and it will be next Wednesday, same time, same place. We'll see you next week.